They are the birds of the sea, gracefully batting their wings as they glide through the water. Catching a glimpse of the majestic eagle ray is a highlight for boaters and divers alike.
Looks like they're flying through the water, and their spots really makes them stand out.
I'm captivated by these rays. They're absolutely beautiful. They're incredibly strong swimmers.
You look at their wings, I mean, it's just like all muscle. They can hang out in a 5-knot current effortlessly.
Their capacity of eating hard shell prey, that's amazing to me.
Found mostly in tropical and subtropical waters, eagle rays use a variety of habitats.
They're on the reef, they're in the lagoon, they're in the shallowest of waters.
There's 5 species of pelagic eagle rays around the world. The eagle ray that we have in the Atlantic basin and in the Gulf of Mexico is the white spotted eagle ray.
The white-spotted eagle ray is listed as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature.
However, looking at distinct portions of its range, that status changes, right? So actually, in the US waters, the species is of least concern. As you move through Central and South America, it changes dramatically.
Because in certain places around the world, they're taken in fisheries.
Despite their designation as globally endangered, relatively little is known about the eagle ray's ecology and life history.
Rays have been very under the radar, and so we like to say we're going to start a rayvolution.
Protected in Florida and Bermuda, these locations make for great study sites of the animals.
We're trying to figure out what the feeding behavior and the movement behavior of these rays is like.
And we're learning so much more about them every day, and we need that data for conservation and management.
No tag, no tag.
What are scientists learning about white-spotted eagle rays? And how is technology aiding them in this process? Sarasota, on Florida's Gulf Coast, is home to Mote Marine Laboratory, where Kim Bassos-Ho has been conducting eagle ray research since 2009.
We're trying to document what are important habitats for them, what size classes we're seeing, and then when we do see them, we put a big seine net around them. And that allows us to at least have them in a controlled, circled net that then allows our divers to go in and get them and bring them on board.
You got him now, Kim?
Extra care needs to be taken to avoid an accidental sting by one of the venom-coated barbs near the animal's tail.
It's a female.
And each animal is checked for a so-called pit tag.
And those pit tags are similar to the microchips we put in your pets, like your dogs and your cats. So if it doesn't have a tag, it means it has not been caught before. So we then put a pit tag in, and it allows us to detect if we've had a recapture months or years down the line. And the next thing we do is we take a genetics clip. Those are really important for us to look at population structure.
8.5. 8.5. Okay.
The team also weighs and measures each ray
54.2.
and collects a series of samples to study its blood and microbiome. Next, they take photographs of the animal.
Spotted eagle rays have unique spot patterns, and that allows us to do photo ID and create a catalog and keep track of them over time.
Okay. It's a little male.
To study the eagle ray's movements and habitat use, the researchers also implant an acoustic tag in the animal's abdominal cavity.
When you turn a shark or a ray upside down, they calm down and they go into almost, we like to say, a trance-like state. That's when we perform this acoustic tag surgery. Most stitches heal within, a series of days. And acoustic tags are passive coded transmitters that work within a system of receivers that are out in the environment. These receivers can receive that unique coded tag signal to them and allow us to look at how the animals move. We strategically place those receivers, for instance, at creek mouths throughout the bay, and we have them in all of our passes between the estuary out to the Gulf of Mexico, because we want to see if animals are going in and out of the estuary. And then we have a series that are like curtains along the coast. So if animals swim up and down the coast, we can catch them in our curtain gate. And then we have ones all the way to about 50 miles offshore. So if our rays swim outside of our array, within like say the Sarasota area, they go into other researchers' arrays.
Kim and her team manage 80 receivers that are part of larger networks of receivers that cover the entire state of Florida and beyond. Scientists studying the movements of all kinds of fish maintain receivers along different parts of the networks and share recorded data with each other.
So we've learned a lot about migration patterns of the eagle rays because of the shared data.
To access the information, researchers need to pull up the receivers at regular intervals and download the data.
It's like Christmas for us. Like, what ray have we seen that we've tagged and when did we tag it?
Kim and her team discovered that the rays are in the Sarasota area between March and October.
The beauty of the acoustic tagging is we have learned where those rays go during those winter months. They go south. They go down to Charlotte Harbor. They go down to the Florida Keys. We even had one of our rays go as far as Cancun, like off the coast of Mexico. We want to understand, what are the drivers of movement? Are they going for social reasons? Are they leaving because of a certain temperature? Is it food driven? We found that the migration patterns on the East Coast versus West Coast rays were very different. East Coast rays, where there's less temperature variation, seem to stay in the Indian River Lagoon year round. Only when a cold front came did they go offshore into the Atlantic.
Kim closely collaborates with Dr. Matt Ajamian and his team of researchers at FAU Harbor Branch in Fort Pierce on Florida's East Coast.
When we started this work off, the Atlantic coast was pretty much, an empty basket, right? We had no information.
One of the things that we're interested in as a driver of movement is what food and what prey resources are available.
Eagle rays feed on clams and snails that live on the seafloor. To get at the meat, they crunch the shells like a nutcracker.
You have teeth that are fused together as one plate, a top and a bottom one.
Almost like a conveyor belt of teeth that they're able to take these hard-shelled prey and crush them. And the coolest thing is that they spit out the shell parts and only ingest the meaty parts.
The bottom tooth plate has a pointed spade tip at the end, just like a shovel.
They can dig into the sand or dig into the mud, because some of their prey, such as clams, actually bury themselves. They might be down 6 inches.
It's difficult to analyze the amount and type of the ray's prey by looking at their stomach contents, since the shells have been removed. So the researchers devised a unique method to study the animal's diet.
We did a short-term capture of the rays and brought them in. We have specialized research tanks here at Moat, and then we were able to feed them a variety of diet of their wild prey. And the reason that we did that is we wanted to understand the different acoustic properties of when they're eating these prey items. So when they're eating a clam, it sounds very different from when they're eating, for instance, a snail.
And we've recorded hundreds and hundreds of feeding events there from many different individuals of eagle rays.
Using AI, the researchers trained a computer to categorize the sounds.
We've already found that we can tell differences between spotted eagle ray predation on a clam or a conch or a nerite.
And our next step is to take that exciting research out to the wild.
To do so, the team traveled to Bermuda, where they worked closely with their colleagues at the Bermuda Aquarium, Museum, and Zoo.
It's one of the longest running aquariums in the world. And then we also have our Natural History Museum.
That's its main function, really, to get people to understand what Bermuda is in terms of its natural history. But the other roles we have are really to support research.
The Bermuda Aquarium, Museum, and Zoo is located on Harrington Sound, which is frequented by the rays.
All of our previous studies have shown that they spend lots of time in there, often several months continuously.
We're trying to figure out what the feeding behavior and the movement behavior of these rays is like, how they spend their day versus their night, where, when, and what they like to eat, and how much they're affecting the animals that live in the sound.
The aquarium staff assists the team in capturing the rays.
Our job principally is to provide the boat support.
We have quite a few boats available with good platforms that they can easily deploy nets from.
We try to spot them from the bow of the boat as the water's really clear, and we can usually see them in the depths where we're able to fish.
But it's often a cat and mouse game. It's never as straightforward as it seems.
To capture the rays, the team uses the same methods as their colleagues in Sarasota.
And then fill it with water, and then fill it with water from the bucket. Where's the bucket go?
Once an animal is on the boat, the researchers begin their workup.
So we collect information on the width and length of the animal, as well as the sex of the animal and whether it's mature or not. Then we'll also take genetic fin clips so that we can find out how this population compares to the Florida population and other populations of eagle rays.
We will inject the animal with a pit tag.
And if a ray is the right size, the researchers will also equip it with a highly specialized temporary tag.
We want to tag a big enough animal that it won't be a stressor or any kind of hindrance to their swimming or feeding, preferably over 1 meter in width.
This is the first venture into this kind of multi-sensor tagging process for this particular species.
The tag is placed on the animal with suction cups.
This species is really conducive for suction cup attachments because its skin is so smooth, actually. In fact, its skin is almost like the skin of a dolphin. So we added a little retainer strap to hold the tag down to the animal's head. And the retainer strap basically is 2 sets of very soft hooks that attach to the sporacular cartilage of the animal. And those straps go over and are held together by a galvanic time release.
That galvanic timed release slowly disintegrates as a result of the salt water reacting with it. And it should fall apart about 24 hours later, causing those hooks to fall out. And then the suction cups will eventually naturally pop off on their own.
The tag records a variety of data while attached to the animal.
So we've got motion sensors on it.
They will allow us to record how the animal is moving and where, whether it's deep, very shallow, how warm the water is, and what it's doing.
And so those things are all getting recorded simultaneously, along with the time. There's a light sensor, and we have a hydrophone, so it's listening to all the sounds being generated, either by the animal or its surroundings, and then a video camera that's looking forward, so giving you a very unique perspective of what the animal's doing.
The tag also gets picked up by 11 stationary receivers located at different depths and in different habitats throughout the sound and in the inlet. Each time a ray swims by one of these receivers, the time and location is recorded. This data can then be combined with the information collected by the tag.
That ability to link the behavior and habitat to where the animal actually is absolutely crucial for our project.
Once the tag comes off the ray, it floats up to the surface.
And it will float in an orientation that puts a little antenna of our satellite transmitter out of the water, as well as a wet-dry sensor. So as soon as that sensor's dry, the transmitter will start telling satellites overhead where it is. So we then hone in on wherever the tag is using a ground interception antenna that will hear those transmissions that are meant for the satellites and guide us to where they're coming from by direction and signal strength. So we'll get near where the tag was from the satellite transmission data, and then we will just sort of be guided by our instrument on the ground to a closer location, and then we just have to look and see our bright pink little package floating there.
Locating the floating tag is like finding a needle in a haystack.
It's incredibly stressful to look for those tags. They're very expensive, but more importantly, the data is invaluable.
What's that? Is it pink? It's pink. It's sort of exciting at the same time, to be honest, because it's sort of like a giant Easter egg hunt. Right in front of you. It's a very expensive Easter egg hunt at the same time, but you're so excited to get data back that sometimes the stresses of the situation is overcome by all of that energy. Way to go, see!
Between October of 2022 and the end of 2023, the team successfully deployed 9 tags, which have led to exciting discoveries.
Whenever I open the videos from these tags, I have this really great rush knowing that I'm seeing something that no one has ever seen before. We finally know where this animal was when it ate that. How deep was it? What was the bottom like? What did it sound like? Were there other rays around? We've seen rays trailing other rays, as well as being part of larger groups of rays, maybe 3 at a time or 4.
The video camera has shown interactions with certain habitats that we weren't really expecting.
Now we can see behaviors like looking for food, but not necessarily finding food. How they change their swimming behavior when they appear to be looking for food.
It's like a dream come true, because as scientists who are interested in studying these animals, short of being able to be underwater and attach yourselves to them, this is it, right? This is the way to break through and discover these behaviors that are basically concealed to us.
Using sound recordings to understand the rays' diet and feeding patterns can also shed light on how eagle rays interact with shellfish aquaculture operations.
That kind of information could, potentially lead to less interactions with the industry.
To test this, the team at Moat is working closely with Sarasota Baywatch.
Sarasota Baywatch is an organization of citizens who are actively working for the environment. We have this project with clam restoration, the southern hard clam.
Native to the area, these clams were once abundant, but their numbers declined due to overfishing.
We want to put them back again so the clams will produce babies and they repopulate those sites.
The filter-feeding clams serve an important ecological role by improving water quality.
These clams, their filter power is very strong, 20 gallons per clam a day.
Sarasota Baywatch received permits from the state to put clams in places where they occurred historically.
We determine if the location is good by doing testings. And once we determine the clams will survive and they will grow, then we put large quantities. We're talking 60,000 clams.
We collected preliminary data at those sites before they released clams. So we put receivers out, we put hydrophones out, we were able to get baseline prior to a restoration, and then we were able to get some data after the clams were put in the water. What we noticed is when the clam restorations were first done, we did see sort of an uptick in a few of our acoustic tagged rays visiting those sites. This is probably, if the clams hadn't buried themselves yet, it's almost like a buffet of clams in the area. But one of the things that's really cool that we're learning is by looking at the diet of the eagle rays, they don't really eat a lot of the hard clams, they eat a lot of other stuff. And one of the things that rays eat are some of the whelks, banded tulips, some of the conchs. So rays can actually be helping manage some of these shellfish beds and industries by like eating some of the other predators of the clams.
Researchers are also hoping to identify eagle ray nurseries in Sarasota and in the Indian River Lagoon.
Really, there's been no nursery work on this species, mainly because there's very few places, I think, where you can reliably study them.
We don't know where the rays are born, and so a way to help recover populations of a species that is globally declining is to discover there's nursery habitats so we can create protected boundaries for this area. So I'm trying to determine where these protected areas should be in Florida coastal waters. For the study rays between 40 to 80 centimeters this width, we are considering a pup. In the Indian River Lagoon, we use gill nets. And then we wait like 30 minutes, and that's how we capture little ones here.
It's a little different than the way moat captures them. They tend to see eagle rays in waters that are a bit clearer. Once the ray is captured, we take a lot of the similar measurements we take for the adults, and then we'll proceed with the surgery to implant them with acoustic transmitters.
We internally tag the rays with 2 tags.
One tag communicates with the stationary receivers set up throughout the lagoon that record the time and date each time a pup swims by over the course of 2 years.
Really to understand how long that habitat serves as a nursery for.
The second tag allows Ari to actively track a pup from a boat.
The active tracking vessel has a special mount on it with a pole for the hydrophone system. The hydrophone's connected to a deck box, which serves as the receiver. And basically the receiver gives you information in real time in terms of the strength of the signal, which is a strong indication of how far away the ray is, as well as the date and the time. And we'll manipulate the direction of the hydrophone to give us the strongest bearing on where the animal is. And we'll continuously move in that direction to stay as close as possible to the ray.
Ari and her colleagues try to follow the pup for 24 hours.
It's because I'm interested in their behavior, how that changes in relationship to time, like their activities during the day and also at night. So we're trying to focus and figure out what the hotspots are, pretty much where they spend the majority of their time.
And the hard work is paying off. Ari is already making some interesting discoveries.
Their behavior is somewhat similar in both areas, despite being so different in terms of water clarity and the tides.
The pups are moving more than expected and are spending time in surprising places.
55.8.
Some of the preliminary data is showing that little rays, they love deeper waters like the channels, and also they love bridges. And Sarasota Bay and also here, we were not expecting to see little ones in the channels because those are areas with high traffic of predators.
Many species of fish seek refuge around shallow mangrove roots when they're little, because these areas are difficult for large predators to access. Ari is hoping that her research will help explain why eagle ray pups also frequent adult habitats, like the deep channels.
I think it helps to be in turbid, darker waters where predators cannot see you very well.
Eagle rays have long captivated people with their stunning appearance and elegant movements.
What I think is really fascinating about studying eagle rays is that we have learned a lot, but we still have a lot to learn.
There seems to be like nothing about them that isn't interesting, which I think keeps me going. We have an amazing opportunity here in Florida because they are in such great shape here that we can learn a lot and apply to other areas in Central and South America where they're not doing as well, so that those people have the information they need to better manage that species.
And we can contribute towards finding out more information and helping with their conservation.
When we look at our Hawaiian creation chant, the Kumulipo tells us that life began in the ocean. The coral polyp is the first living thing, and the last living thing to come to life is man. For every living thing in the ocean, there is a protector on the land. So we need to understand the duality of life. Everything has a direct impact from land to ocean.
Prior to Western colonization, the Hawaiian people embraced this duality, stewarding their island home through the creation of ahupua'a. These pie-shaped districts traced fresh water from summit to surf, or from Mauka to Makai.
In the ahupua'a system, it's all one body, you know? And when you live like an islander, whatever happens up Mauka is impacting everything down Makai. And same thing with Makai up Mauka. From the ocean to the mountain, and mountain to the ocean.
Today, this Hawaiian tradition of sustainable resource management endures through aloha aina, or love of the land.
Wherever you go in Hawaii, you always find people talking about how much they love the land, how much they want to care for the land. Hulina lima ika lepo, turn your hands into the soil. That's the kind of the quintessential essence of how you express your love of the land. That is connected directly to malama aina, which is caring for the land. And that's embodied in the concept of kuleana, responsibility. So we have a responsibility to care for our land.
Across the island of Maui, scientists, land managers, and volunteers draw on the ancient wisdom of the Hawaiian people to revive traditional watersheds. Even amidst profound loss in the wake of recent wildfires, islanders have strengthened their resolve to bring balance back to their cherished ecosystems. How are local communities restoring Maui's watersheds and reefs from Mauka to Makai? And what lasting impact will these efforts have on the islanders who call these places home? Nestled along the shore of the former capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom lies the Lahaina Reef. The corals and sea life here face unknown impacts from the wildfire that ravaged the town on August 8, 2023. The unprecedented fire claimed over 100 lives and decimated some of Maui's most sacred places. Dr. Andrea Kealoha is among a team of scientists dedicated to studying the effects of the fire on coastal water quality and coral reef ecosystems.
After the fires, I think, we were really in response and recovery mode for quite some time, but unsurprisingly, it wasn't long before people in the community started turning their attention to the water. And that's because the reef provides us with so many of the resources that we need to survive here. And so it's a project that's responding to the needs of our community.
Since the fire, Andrea and her colleagues have collected hundreds of water samples. They measured not only the health of the reef, but also levels of contaminants from burned materials and heavy metals like copper, lead, and zinc.
We also have sensors that have been deployed since October. And so those sensors are monitoring just kind of the general water quality parameters.
Holy moly, it's dirty here.
5 sites are located within the Lahaina burn zone, and 2 sites are located outside of the burn zone. And these sites serve as the control sites where we wouldn't really expect to see the impacts of the Lahaina wildfires on those reefs.
As Andrea and her team begin to review sensor data, she stresses that these recordings only provide snapshots. It will be years before long-term impacts are known.
So as far as we know, there's never been an urban wildfire adjacent to a coral reef. With an urban wildfire, you have the burning of urban infrastructure, and that releases all different types of contaminants. And so we have some hypotheses about what we might expect to see in terms of stressors to the reef, but we're really kind of learning as we go.
Andrea and other experts warn that the worst impacts may still lie ahead. As Lahaina rebuilds, soil disruption and significant rainfall events will increase risks to the reef.
So there's an olelo no ea, which is a Hawaiian proverb, and it says, he po'i na kaiuli kai ko'o, a o he hina pu ko'a. Though the sea be deep and rough, the coral rock remains standing. And I think you can kind of hammer a reef for a short period of time and it will come back. It is resilient, but also if you have these stressors that occur for many, many years, I really believe that we can cause a full shift in the ecosystem.
High above Lahaina's reef, the upland ecosystem is overrun with the same fire-prone non-native grasses that significantly contributed to the wildfire. This once lush landscape was cleared over a century ago to make way for U.S. sugarcane and pineapple plantations. Today, local community members aim to heal this landscape, despite enduring immense personal loss from the fires. They have not wavered in their aloha aina.
So just try for any of the plants, not just the vetiver. Somebody can go do that as, you know, along this edge, all the way to the road.
Aiding them is restoration ecologist Dustin Palos, who is committed to applying indigenous Hawaiian wisdom to the restoration of native lands.
Indigenous people had these indigenous sciences and methods, and it wasn't written. So I feel like it might be just in our DNA or in our koko, in our blood, because, you know, it wasn't written.
After the fires, Dustin and his team transformed the restoration garden at the University of Hawaii Maui College into a biocultural pu'uhonua, or refuge. Using traditional practices, they've grown more than 5,000 native tree starts, which have already been planted across the island in fire-impacted communities.
In the recent devastations around Maui, we want to showcase and incorporate these biocultural pu'uhonuas that provide this multi-function sense of place, sense of well-being, a place where you can practice culture, or harvest, and cultivate from this culture and continue this perpetuation of what ike kupuna, or this ancestral knowledge, looks like. And pretty much Ka'uluwehi is that.
Just east of Lahaina, in the culturally significant Olowalu Valley, Another biocultural refuge is thriving after more than 2 decades of dedicated restoration efforts. Central to this transformation is the replacement of thirsty invasive trees with more fire-resistant native plants.
So we're trying to restore this valley into what it maybe looked like before sugarcane was here, before Westerners came in and changed the landscape. We want to help to restore that ecological integrity of this valley from Mauka to Makai.
Flowing through the heart of the valley is the Olowalu Stream. Here, traditional planting methods also play a vital role in securing sediment upstream.
The stream runs through the entirety of our property that we steward, and we're very mindful of our practices here because of that stream water. Everything along the way impacts the quality of that stream water, the health of that stream, and that then flows out into the ocean, which in turn impacts the health of the coral reef and all of the marine life that's in that nearshore coastal area.
The Olowalu Reef is among Hawaii's largest and healthiest. 500-year-old corals attest to an ancient lineage, but its significance is even more crucial. This vast mother reef seeds not only Lahaina and all of West Maui, but also neighboring islands.
If we can understand the life and ebb and flow of the corals, and that they're not just inanimate objects, that they're alive, they're living, they're breathing. If we can take care of them as such, then they can populate the rest of these reefs in perpetuity.
Ekolu Lindsay, a community leader whose ancestral home was destroyed by the Lahaina wildfire, has been a steadfast advocate for coral reef restoration through better land stewardship. He emphasizes the essential role of Hawaiian values in Kipuka Olowalu's mission.
There are few cultural values, cultural processes that are important for us to learn how to take care of these things properly. Kupono is honesty, honesty to build. Malama is to cherish, to take care of things properly, to cherish relationships. Kokua is to help without any expectations of reciprocation. When we understand these processes and values, aloha becomes automatic. Aloha is love and compassion for all living things.
On the South Maui coast, local residents are also centering Hawaiian cultural values in the restoration of local wetlands. Employing the traditional practice of kilo aina, they carefully observe the land and the natural rhythms of the ecosystem.
Kilo aina to me here in Waihulikai is really about learning how to communicate with the aina. Kilo is really about understanding the connection one thing has to another and how that connection makes things work. In those terms, we develop this reciprocal connection between the aina and ourselves.
Since 2017, Kodi Nemet Tuivaiti has led the effort to protect these wetlands.
In the beginning, we were just some local brothers wanting to care for our home, and we've definitely been educated from the aina itself to a point where now we're teaching education as to why these areas are so important.
In ancient times, this coastline was renowned for its royal fish ponds. Expertly constructed by Hawaiian engineers, these walled ponds caught sediment, nourished the fish, and protected the reefs. Native vegetation was strategically maintained in the wetland buffer zone to retain water and filter sediment. However, urban development has nearly erased the traditional landscape.
So it's very, very important that we have these wetlands, that we have these native and endemic plants to do those jobs the way that they should be. Heli Kaina Hekauke Kanaka means the island is chief and we are its servants. And I try to live by that as much as possible by allowing the Aina to dictate how we move forward. There are no time restraints when it comes to that. There are no due dates. The Aina will move on the Aina's time. The Aina will reveal when the Aina is ready to reveal.
Farther afield, in Nu'u on Maui's remote southeast coast, restoration ecologist Scott Fisher recognizes the value of patience and listening to the land.
The application of Ike Kupuna, of traditional knowledge, does not allow for quick movements and quick activity. I mean, you end up doing so much more destruction that way. My first couple years here, I didn't plant any native plants. I didn't clear any invasives because I wanted to understand what was the relationship that had developed here now. And so that process of observing was critical for understanding how to be more efficient and more effective.
The Nu'u Refuge, managed by the Hawaii Land Trust, spans 82 acres of rugged coastline and includes pre-contact petroglyphs and pristine natural habitat.
The Pupuka Pond, although it's small, it is among the healthiest coastal wetlands in the state. The endangered and threatened birds that we're trying to protect actually use this as their launching off point to Hawaii Island. So it's disproportionately important and valuable, which is why we're putting so much effort into protecting it.
This delicate pond habitat is especially vulnerable to tsunamis, which occur roughly every 11 years in the islands. To gain deeper insights into the area's tsunami history, Scott and his team started by looking into ancient Hawaiian stories. One local legend recounted the tale of two deities, including the god of the ocean, who devastated a fish pond near Nu'u.
We took that legend very seriously and said, okay, well, if there was an event of that size, that it could completely destroy a fish pond that was once here, is it possible that it also left a signature on the ground? And so we began searching.
Scott discovered compelling evidence scattered along the hillside. More than 60 coral boulders, some weighing up to 50 pounds, displaced by the force of the waves. Using their weights and positions, he estimated a wave traveling 5 to 6 meters per second.
We also found what we call paleo stage indicators, or markers of how high the wave height might have been. And those are in the form of these water-worn pebbles that were wedged into these cracks. So some of those were up to 8 meters high and 188 meters inland. So that tells you that there was a substantial wave. So what we can do is we can actually design a forest around the pond in order to provide maximum protection.
In 2023, local volunteers began clearing invasive trees and planted the first layer of this forested bioshield, which is designed to slow down an incoming tsunami and capture sediment. When finished, these native trees and shrubs will create a living tsunami barrier nearly 200 feet deep. In addition, Scott and his team are incorporating native plant species that are also revered for their medicinal and ceremonial significance.
So on one level, we're trying to protect a coastal wetlands, but also what we're trying to do is reinvigorate a culture and especially the relationship between people and land. Our vision is Iola Ka'aina, Iola Mako Ne, which is basically when the land thrives, we all thrive.
On the north shore of Maui, the Hawaii Land Trust also manages the Waihe'e Coastal Dunes and Wetlands Refuge, one of Hawaii's most culturally significant sites. This area was once home to 2 prosperous Hawaiian villages and an expansive inland fish pond. But large-scale agriculture drained this land of its once flowing water years ago.
My main focus as a steward here in Waihe'e is to bring the water back to the wetlands. And the water is important to bring back because it's water, it's vai. And vai to us, you know, for Kanaka is very, very important because it's life.
High above the coastal refuge, the wild flow of the Waihe'e River is harnessed by ancient irrigation canals to nourish traditional Hawaiian farms growing kalo, a plant of profound significance in Hawaiian culture.
If you have a pretty healthy ahupua'a, you have your river that comes down, you have kalo farmers who take the vai for their kalo, it goes back into the river, and that's how it's supposed to be. The overall health of the ahupua'a system is kind of dependent on everybody who uses the system, and it's trying to figure out what can we do as users on the same system that will help each other out, you know.
Because the southern irrigation channel is losing nearly half its water to leaks, the Land Trust is working with farmers to repair it. After clearing invasives, they must dredge the canal by hand to remove accumulated sediment, ensuring the faster, cooler water flow crucial for nourishing the kalo plants. This waterway will one day be reconnected to the wetlands and inland fish pond at Waihe'e Reserve. However, restoring this ancient watershed still requires years of work ahead.
A fish pond is really a reflection of the health of your ahupua'a because it really shows how much the entirety of your system is working in harmony. And this space hasn't really had water for about 100 years or so. And that really changes the aina, the community, and also the spirit of the place. There are a lot of different ways to heal aina and to heal people. That's why the work that we do here, which is bringing water back, is very important because the physical embodiment of vai can change the spirit of the land and the community. So a lot of it comes through understanding identity and empowerment of being Kanaka.
All across Maui, the efforts of community volunteers, land managers, and restoration ecologists mark a transformational shift toward ancient Hawaiian practices. Islanders are reconnecting with the land through aloha aina. This deep-rooted love for the land is not only revitalizing ecosystems, but also restoring communities from Mauka to Makai.
Heli ka aina he kaua ke kanaka. The land is the chief and the people are the servants. None of us are going to be here forever. We're all going to halaika po. We're all going to pass on into the next world. But if we share that sense of aloha aina, then we can ensure that the subsequent generations take on the kuleana, the responsibility of caring for the land. Anytime you talk about land, the first thing you ought to think about is kuleana, is responsibility.
We continue to forget that we need and have kuleana, or responsibilities, as older siblings, as kinship. You know, I tell the kids, the keiki, that's what this is for. This is not for us. This is not for me. You know, this is for the community. This is for our lahui, our nation. This is for the future. That's what conservation and preservation is about. Preserving and conserving resources for the next generation, not for us.
If you just give it time, you know, give the aina time to acclimate to the changes and the impacts, it'll slowly begin to bounce back. You just gotta pay attention, you gotta give it time. Know your land, you know your space. before you traverse. If we don't know these things and we continue to just be separated from them, then we're really not being islanders, we're really not being Kanaka. It's really about peeling back all these layers of colonialism and revealing the islander within ourselves. This is how we're going to help to malama and care for these resources.
The future can be found in the wisdom of the past. So in the Hawaiian lens of looking at things, the answers are already there. We look behind us to see where we need to go. There is no perfect answer for anything out there. There's only, let's try it.